So hi, welcome to Anchor Reviews. This is Tyler from Anchor Reviews, and this is my review on The Crow, specifically, of course, the 2024 adaptation of the same name. Now, of course, the 1994 Crow movie is a movie that I have seen back at least 10 years ago when I first watched it. And I think it was a pretty solid movie when I first watched it, but then I rewatched it recently for this one coming up. And I have to say, it definitely got better with age. I think it's a great movie, really visually stylized. Brandon Lee did a great performance in that movie. It's really sad what happened to him, and that ending really tugs at your heartstrings, partially because of what happened to Brandon Lee in real life, but also the movie is just so beautifully shot, edited, acted, everything else. I think it's truly a great movie, and I can see why people have been so emotionally attached to this movie, and it really holds up pretty well, in my opinion. Now, with that said and done, they did make various other sequels throughout the 90s and the 2000s, but of course, they never came close to the box office or critical reception of the 1994 movie. So it made sense by 2008 that they decided that they were going to reboot the franchise. Now the thing is that this movie was stuck in development for about 16 years, or at least they were trying to reboot it, and they finally did in 2024. Directed by Rupert Sanders, who's best known for directing movies such as Snow White and the Huntsman and Ghost in the Shell, the live-action remake of it. Now the thing is that Rupert Sanders' movies have all something in common, is that for one, they all look visually great. Second is that they all are adaptations of previous works of fiction, so he's never really made an original movie. And finally is that all of his movies have had controversy to them. Snow White and the Huntsman was controversial, partially because they cast regular-sized actors as little people in the movie, as, the Seven Dwarf characters, and the other was that the director of the movie had an affair with Kristen Stewart. Now, with Ghost in the Shell, there was a controversy about that movie was they accused the movie of whitewashing, despite the fact that Scarlett Johansson, as the main character, didn't offend anyone from Japan. They were asking people in Japan, and they were perfectly fine with it. And the controversy with this movie, The Crow, is the fact that it just simply exists. I mean, the thing is that I think that no matter who would have made this movie, I think it was just going to be unpopular because of how people are emotionally attached to that movie, which is understandable and fine because the 94 movie is a great movie. So with this version of The Crow from 2024, Bill Skarsgård plays the Eric Draven character, and this time he's someone who is a bit of a junkie. He's in rehab where he meets Shelley, played by FKA Twigs. I think that's how you pronounce her name, I'm not so sure about that. So then Eric gets mixed up with Shelley when it comes to the fact that she is mixed up with this evil guy named Vincent Rogue, played by Danny Houston, who is a villainous and supernatural character. And with Shelley and Eric die, Eric, of course, gets the powers of the Crow to not just avenge his own death, but also the death of Shelley and the other people that Vincent has killed throughout the years. And so I watched this movie, and I'm conflicted by it. The things I liked about this movie was, of course, the visual look of the movie, too, because Rupert Sanders really knows how to shoot a movie. He's the kind of director where I would want to hire him to direct maybe a Dracula, Frankenstein movie for Universal. In fact, he was supposed to direct a remake of Van Helsing back in the 2010s, just after he directed Snow White and the Huntsman for Universal. Of course, he's not going to direct that one now with someone else is doing it, but anyway, I digress. And the movie is very violent. Yeah, of course, it's rated R, it's violent, but this is the first movie I've seen in a while where the violence was really effective. There were moments where I just was cringing in terms of what was happening on screen. Now, the best part about the movie is not just the most violent scene in the movie, but it's also very effective, well made, would have to be the opera fight scene. They've been hyping this thing up, and it definitely lives up to the hype. It's very effective, well shot, well directed, well executed in terms of choreography. And also there's definitely some shots with the Crow following around Eric in the movie where I could tell that they were very similar to the 1994 movie when it came to up-close shots of the Crow. I also thought Bill Skarsgård was actually pretty solid as a character. I mean, I did not like all the tattoos on him. I felt like they should have gotten rid of most of them. I think they should have just given maybe some of them here and there. But for me, the worst part about this movie related to casting would have to be FKA Twigs as the love interest of the movie. The thing is, she cannot act. Her first scene in the movie was just bad. I was going oof internally when her first scene in the movie, and it's just really bad. It's everything about it, from her line delivery is just flat, and she really has no chemistry with Bill Skarsgård. And yeah, they really should have gotten an actress, well, not just someone who can actually act, but someone who had acting experience. I'm not saying that singers can't be actors, because there have been a few singers in the past who've done pretty good in acting, but this was just someone who was painfully miscast and really gave a Razzie Award-winning performance with this one. Another issue I have with this movie would have to be the first act, which is very rough, and just the way they write the characters make them a little bit too degenerate, in my opinion, or they make, oh, they're in rehab to, of course, reform, but then as soon as they escape, they're like, oh yeah, let's just go right back into and relapse. And that's just really bad, not just for your characters, but also for people in real life who are struggling with addiction. Showing them just relapse like that and glorifying that like it's romantic is really bad, I guess, a really bad taste. But another positive thing I'll say about this movie would have to be Danny Huston as the villain of the movie. Now, he's always good as playing the villain, whether it be X-Men Origins Wolverine or Wonder Woman. Say what you want about those movies in terms of quality, but yeah, he was consistently good in both those, and he's also very good in this one. All of his scenes where he's just this villainous character is very effective, and yeah, he definitely has his presence to him where he can come off as earnest, of course, on the exterior, but very sinister on the inside. So as for the 2024 version of The Crow, I thought that the movie definitely has moments in terms of action with Bill Skarsgård, as well as various twists and turns with the story in terms of the mythology of The Crow and the villain himself. I thought that was like, okay, I can see what they were going for, what they were trying to do. And that's important when you're trying to readapt something to give its own identity. The worst thing you can do is just do a hard copy and paste of the 94 movie, which would have been terrible if they were doing that. But this time it's like, let's just do a different version, or at least a different adaptation of the comic book of the same name. But I gotta say that, yeah, the lead actress is painfully miscast. She gives a really bad performance, and that first act definitely needed a rewrite. So as for The Crow, it's a movie that I'm very conflicted by, similar to the 2010 remake of The Wolfman, where there's things about it that I like a lot, and there are things that I don't like that much about it. So as for the 2024 version of The Crow, I would give it about 2.5 stars out of 4. So anyway, this is Tyler from End-Credit Reviews, and I hope you enjoyed this video that I made, and I hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe.